G'day, guys, and welcome to another episode of Comics to Movies and More. I'm your host, Sean Keenan, and with us tonight we have Stephen, as always, as well as a very special guest. We're moving away from the comic scene for a little bit, and we've got a game studio owner, Elphie Agent Coyle, which we're super excited to have on board. So we're going to be talking everything Aliens versus Predator. We're going to be talking about Lightmare Studios and Infinity Wars and Infinity Heroes. And we might even give you some information about a Kickstarter that may or may not be launching on next Friday. So welcome to everybody, and say hello in the comments, and we'll give shout outs, and let's bring in our hosts and guests and say hello to everyone. G'day, guys. How you going?
G'day, guys.
Hey, Alfie. Hey, Sean. Look, apologies again. My internet's rubbish every once in a while. I'm in probably the worst NBN electorate in in the whole of Sydney. If people know where I live, you know exactly why I've got rubbish internet. But look, I'm here. I'm very excited about talking to yourself, Alfie, because I'm actually really excited for the Kickstarter, because I'm definitely going to get the copy of the book and the game. I'm a huge Hearthstone fan, so all these collectible card games and stuff. Look, I spend way too much time in Hearthstone, so I'm going to spend way too much time on this when I get into it as well.
Well, thank you. And this might be a great time to announce that we actually have just signed on as our marketing coordinator for Lightmare, the guy who launched Hearthstone in Southeast Asia and Australia.
Oh,
so,
really?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big announcement. But I thought you brought up Hearthstone. Let's just talk about it. So yeah, little announcement I thought I'd make there. So
I've got a very
glad to have him on
embarrassing
board.
story. When Alfie and I first met, he explained Infinity Heroes in regards to Hearthstone, and I was like, crickets. I had no idea. I was like,
Yeah, I remember
how
that.
bad is that? So, but I do now. So, and which is very cool. So, we understand that we might even, if we can convince you to give us a little demo of the game later, maybe if we can twist your arm a little bit. So,
you might be able to do that. Sure. I think that's
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're just going to give a couple of shout outs to people that are here. Sazigal, hi again. Lucas, thanks for joining us. Darren, nice to see you. And Shane, evening. So, g'day, everyone. We are excited about this show. Let's get into it. The movie we're going to talk about tonight is a little bit to do with what we call crossovers and comics. There's been a couple of comics out there that are doing crossovers. XCT's one of them, but we did have Darren Close on a couple of weeks ago that did a crossover with Killaroo and the Four Horsemen. So we thought, what better way than to talk about crossovers than Alien versus Predator. So I'm going to put my hand up straight away and say I actually really liked this film. So I think, look, the story wasn't one of the best stories going around. So it's not like your Braveheart or your Forrest Gump or it's definitely not going to win an Oscar. But in regards to an action movie, plausible reasons of why the two universes would collide. I actually thought it was a very brilliant, well thought out idea in regards to the predators use the aliens to hunt them, like they'll to practice their hunting skills and everything. What better way than create a apex predator type of thing to hunt and kill. So I just saw this movie as pure fun action, a good throwback to those 80 films that we loved as kids. But Stephen, what did you think of Alien versus Predator?
I'm actually not I'm sorry, Sean. I'm actually not a huge fan of this one. The main thing, and this, as I played the computer game of this. There used to be a side-scrolling beat-em-up version of the Aliens vs Predator. You know, you put your again, it came out about it was about 96 or something. Basically, you put your money in the arcade and you played as either two. You can pick between two predators or two humans, and basically you hunt aliens. And I think they set the place wrong. They set the Aliens vs Predator, I think, in modern times, in like 2004 or something, and I think that was the biggest mistake. I think they should have set it in the Aliens world. So like this is back, where Ripley's time. I think that would have been a lot more fun. More future, more tech. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved like Ripley teaming up to kill the Xenomorph Queen or something like that. I would think that would be more fun. But
I do know how much you love your aliens, so I can imagine
I do.
that this was probably not to par with your James Cameron. So
I know, but I think a future setting. By the way, I do 100% understand why they set it in the modern day. It's probably cheaper to film. Predator was, it's a much cheaper. The sets were a lot cheaper. Like Aliens, the sets were a lot more expensive to construct and all the rest of it. But man, if they had set this in the future, I would have loved it. But I would have liked it more Aliens than Predator, if that makes sense.
Elphie,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually really loved the movie, but that's because I do love all things crossover. I must admit, I have a bit of a thing for that. But you reminded me of the arcade game, and I loved that arcade game. It was a 3-player thing. You could actually do 3-player co-op, which is quite original for that. Yeah, and then the other thing, there was a PC game that came out. I played a lot of that. Like that was fun, being able to sit in like the roofs. You could literally sit above a doorway as someone would walk past and do the head bite. All right, you could just stomp. And it was just it had so much tension. All 3 characters acted so differently, and it was one of the most scary experiences being the Marine trying to go against both aliens and the Predator. Right, like it was you were ridiculously out-teched, but you had some pretty cool guns that you could use to take on. So I did pivot that to video games as well. But
it just reminded me, I love that because that was actually Sean. If you haven't played it's a first-person shooter, and I remember playing it. And the cool thing about it was you actually, to complete the game, you had to play as all 3 races: the Marines, you had to play as the Predator, and you had to play as an alien. But the most interesting part as being a Marine, as if you play the first walkthrough, they actually built in jump scares into the game. So as you're walking past certain bits, it doesn't affect the game so much, but a door would collapse. You hear things in the background, and they jump scared you. And it was one of the first few games I remember playing. Like if you played the Doom never bothered jump scaring you. It was just you hear the music come on, and you knew you're gonna find a boss coming soon. But this game actually went for the jump scares, and I was like,
yeah.
And
and it was a lot of fun multiplayer. Like I played through the campaign once, and it was scary and tense, and I loved that. But yeah, I think there was something about the social aspect as well, of becoming, the Predator and being able to just mask yourself and just have all these ridiculous moves that you wouldn't have in most of the other games at the time, because everything was balanced and multiplayer and it was all meant to be even. Whereas this was like, no, it's very, very different. And as a human, you have like a little, like a radar, so you just see the little blip getting closer and closer as somebody's like closing in on you. Yeah, so it was a cool game. But as far as the movie was concerned, especially now you mentioned a lot of those points, it would have been a lot cooler if they went to the future. I think they maybe had to do it, like you're saying, for budget reasons, and maybe even just to ground it a little bit more if the whole idea of crossing over was a little too much. But Predator did a pretty good job of grounding it in reality in modern day, and maybe they're hoping they could do that as well. But perhaps when you're going to the fantastical and the idea of a crossover, then you might need to lean into that, which is something that we've done, Sean. But we could have gone with putting it into the XCT universe, but it wouldn't have made as much sense, I don't think. So we might have had the same problem that AVP movie had.
No, and I think that's a good point that you make. And in this show, we try to give out tips in comic creating and everything like that. And that was one question that did come up between us very early on in this crossover is like, well, which universe are we going to kind of set this in? And I've tried to keep XCT very firmly, within certain rules and everything like that, where you were like, okay, well, we have certain dimensional portals. So if you pull him out, Spartacus out of your universe and put him into our universe, well, then that would make more sense. And I think that is something that, if you're going to tell a good story, that you really do need to kind of think about and structure that story around going, well, is it plausible that this comes and that, because to have it the opposite way, if it never ever happened in XCT before and never happens again, well, then that kind of doesn't make any sense, or is kind of like, oh, you're just going to do it for financial reasons or whatever other kind of reasons people might think. Where this way, you could have it done multiple times and doesn't necessarily have to be with Infinity heroes. It can be with other universes now, saying, okay, well, this has happened, and he seems to be drawn out through these portals or whatever like that. But the one thing I do love about this, and I actually forgot about it, is the actual catch line: whoever wins, we lose. I'm
yeah,
like,
that was great.
That is a cool catch line.
Yeah.
I know Stephen loves coming up with really cool dialogue and that for specific characters and books we create and everything. But Stephen, you have to admit that is a pretty cool line to hook type of thing for a movie.
Oh, definitely. Like in space, no one can hear you scream. It's one of those. I have to say, hats off. Great log line. Absolutely fantastic log line.
Yeah.
Now, just a few questions in here. It's not bad for 6.5 filming post-production schedule. Wow, I didn't realize it was shot that quickly. That's pretty impressive. 6.5 months because it was pretty good quality. I wouldn't have thought that, it wasn't like a B grade movie. So that is impressive. So George, who always kind of chimes in with most of the movies, has said, I will be quiet on this one. I haven't seen the movie in full yet. So that doesn't bode well if he has tried to watch it a couple of times and hasn't watched it in full. And then we've got Man B26. Really enjoyed AVP, probably because I had low expectations. I'm a huge fan of the Alien movies and thought it was an odd crossover at first. And I think a lot of people thought that in regards to a crossover, and this goes back to that point of making a story or creating a universe where it made sense that they crossed over. And the Predator is a hunter, and that's the avenue that they've gone down. So to make it that they've spoiler alert, that they were hunting the aliens, and they created the aliens to specifically do that for their training, I thought that was really, really cool. So
yeah, I think it was quite plausible. And I think in the first one, that was in the pyramid, right? Like, so they had, so they had a scene that was kind of alien-esque. But then the second one, I think, went like full into the wild or into the urban areas and stuff. So yeah, interesting. But I did love the concept, and it was one of the first sort of crossovers that we'd seen in the movie scene. And it was interesting that the games had precluded that. Both the arcade game and the PC game came before the movie. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting that when these type of things come out, there's a lot of times you go back and go, oh, I didn't realize there was a game or something like that preluded these type of things, even with movies or series that come out at the moment where people go, oh, that's a really cool series. Have you seen that? And you're like, oh yeah, that graphic novel's been out for for 10 years. What are you talking about? So it is interesting when you do something like this, when you cross over between either two movie franchises, or with a comic and a game studio or something like that, you then start to appeal to different audiences. You increase that that range of people that are looking at your wares, that can enjoy your story, and people that maybe sometimes wouldn't even pick up a comic or something like that. They're more enticed to do that now. So,
well, it's interesting that the AVP movie, the writers actually referenced the comic series as some of their source material. So that was interesting. Yeah, so it's all these different blends of different genres that end up becoming inspiration for some things that end up really well and some things that don't, because there have been some pretty decent crossover movies over the years. But yeah, and I personally loved the first one. Didn't think so much about the second AVP.
I didn't mind it, but when they did the massive Predator and everything, which was, I think, like half alien, half Predator, I was like, oh, really? And it's the
I
same
had the
with
same sort of walking reaction. I think it was in Alien 4, where they had the half human, half alien. If you remember that, like it was kind of built off Ripley's
Hybrid one,
genes, like clone or something like that. I was like, what are you trying to do here? But yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like a bit of a bet, because you want to try to milk it as much as you can. But yeah, they did end up having, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was the easy way out. I had the same feeling with Jurassic. It's not World. What's the second one? Fallen Kingdom. Is that the second one that's just come out? When they, again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. When they said the little girl's a clone, I was like, oh really? Like, I picked that very early on. I was like, I felt like that was a cop out. I was like, we're all based around the dinosaurs. The movies are based around the dinosaurs. Why did you have to bring in the human cloning part of it? I was like, I just felt like it was really cringy, type of thing. It didn't necessarily, need to be done. Like, her just being his daughter, I feel would have been, a more believable story than making her, that he's cloned her type of thing. So, but again, that's just.
I agree with you. I think the attachment would have been better if it was actually his daughter rather than a clone, because then you don't have to explain where the mom came from. You don't explain everything, but at least the attachment's there to say, you know what? So this, but I did like, jumping on a tangent, I love the open world idea when they just release them all for all the future movies. So I love that concept. I absolutely love that concept. I don't know, but are they making another one? Is another one coming? Do you know?
Yeah, Extinction, I think this next one is called. So it's just started filming. I think is it filming in the UK? So I think it's filming in the UK. So I think they all had to go through their quarantine. So a lot of movies have just started back up. So I know here in Australia, Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman have touched down. So their Thor: Love and Thunder is getting started very, very soon. I know the Batman, unfortunately, is delayed again because what's his name? Robert Pattinson's got COVID. The latest Rock movie has been delayed because The Rock has got COVID, and his whole family. So, it's quite interesting to see. I think we're going to see a lot of films over the next 12 to 18 months, either be delayed or pushed back, or, have, these situations that come up where they have to close down, reopen, close down, reopen type of thing. So, yeah.
It'll be interesting times when it's interesting to see what's happening with the whole COVID, and release of movies across different formats, and cinemas selling tickets for 15 cents each just to get people in the door. It's pretty.
I know I've
pretty
been
well.
hanging out to see New Mutants because I am an X-Men fan and everything like that. And like Queensland and that have got the movies. New South Wales got the movies, and poor Victoria, we're like
Victoria, no.
poor man's cousin. Like
Right.
we can't even go to the movies. So
Yeah.
it's starting to get I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated because I'm like, okay. Yeah, I've been locked up, and you would know as well if you've been locked up pretty much since March now. And we can almost see the finish line, and it's kind of like, to people that are doing the wrong thing, it's like, guys, please, 2 more weeks, just give us 2 more weeks, and then we'll hopefully be in a position to reopen
I've
up.
honestly stopped looking out the window. I'm just like, yep, I'm just going to focus in on what I got going now, and frankly, life is actually better for me now than before lockdown. So I'm in this really strange position where I've changed a lot of my mindset around it all, and now I almost don't want it to end. It's been great.
Yeah, and that's a good segue, because you do like mindfulness. I've seen you've do mindfulness training and that as well. Is that something that you've been doing for a while, or is that part of something that you've started to do in this lockdown period?
Yeah, no, I've actually for many years I've done both business mentoring and lifestyle design. So that's where, basically setting up one's life to be as optimal and fitting and resonant for that person as one can be. And so, I do some mentoring and coaching around that stuff as well. So it was interesting for me to be going through it all and just like not feeling like doing anything. And we will go through these sort of waves, but got back up on my feet and started putting in place my own systems and processes around how to have fun with life. And I wrote a mini book for men about 10 years ago called Epic Life Game: How to Create Life into the Ultimate Game. I should say for women as well, but it was actually released on a men's site, and that was making real life into a video game kind of thing. So just a methodology, so a way of being and seeing life, to have it be not as intense and attached, and yet still be able to strive and drive and make things happen in the world. So I do teach that stuff.
Yeah. And Stephen, you've been super productive in this lockdown, haven't you?
Oh yeah, look, I actually haven't minded it too much. Look, it's been an interesting change for me. So I got to do a lot of. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a contractor. So my contract actually got, as soon as the restrictions hit in New South Wales, basically my contract got pulled. I'm getting piecemeal bits and pieces, but it is what it is. But saying that though, it's allowed me to do a lot of things which I normally never have the time to. I'm doing the school drop-offs, I'm doing the school pickups, and you know what? I wouldn't change it. Absolutely would not change it. I love working from home. I do not miss. I used to be in traffic. I used to catch the bus to work. I used to be, give or take, about 2.5 hours traveling every day. I don't miss that one bit. You know what I mean? I used to have to load movies into my phone because I could watch one movie, half the way there and finish the movie on the way back home. I don't miss it at all. Like, you just get so much of your life back. And the other thing was, if life, when it gets back to normal, I want this to kind of be the new normal, where working from home, especially certain jobs, I want it this way. But on an interesting segue though, and I do want to find this out, and just for people in the chat, I honestly don't know this. How did XCT Infinity come about? Like, how did you two guys hook it up? Because I don't know what happened. I know there's a story behind it. I want to know the story behind it. How did this happen, Sean and Elphie? And if it starts with, he was buying me a couple of shots, I think that's how I wanted to happen. But I think there's a bit more to it. So please, I want to hear that story.
Well, who wants to go first? Do you want to tell your version?
Your version.
I always love this because it's always interesting to see what what people think, type of thing. Because my story of how I met my wife is completely different to the story she tells everyone. So for me, I'm pretty sure I was either going to the toilet or going to get something to eat. Was at Oz Comic Con in Brisbane, and Elphie and I think there was two other guys were at their stand. They had a really cool setup at the show, and I kind of walked past, and Elphie being all slick and everything he was like, "Oh, do you play Hearthstone?" and blah blah blah. And I was looked at him blank, like I don't have a clue what that is, and I think I did walk away, and then when I was coming back to come back to my table, he gave me his card, and I was like, oh look, I got to get back to my table. I write my own comic book, blah blah. And he's like, oh really? And then he came over to my table, and we kind of went from there. That's how I remember it, but I don't know if that's
I'll give my side. Yeah, it's pretty similar, so they do line up. It's just I remember just going around. I was walking around the place and thinking, are there any? And I genuinely was thinking, are there any really cool IPs that are local and that would be would be cool to possibly cross into the game. I wasn't thinking about doing a comic book at the time. I was just thinking about IPs and then I came across your desk and the work that you had there, and I was just so taken by the images, all the half and halves, which is just like bang, just right up my alley. That is like almost like a crossover, right, of in print form. And then I saw the book and I was like, wow, like it was genuinely the best quality like indie art comic book that I'd found in the convention. And so yeah, that
make me blush.
Enthralled me straight away, man. And yeah, because I mean, this wasn't the first time we'd done a crossover in the game or in the past. So we actually had Star Trek: The Next Generation, the worldwide rights for that game, and we did a crossover of that into the Infinity Wars game, which is the game previous to Infinity Heroes, and that came out in 2014. So having Jean-Luc Picard again right next to Agent Coyle was one of those kind of landmark moments in my life personally. But yeah, as far as what had me interact with you, that was the thing. It felt right straight away. And then we started talking, and I just really got along with your energy. And I was like, okay, this guy's a cool dude. He's not, he seems quite open, and at the same time, you had pride in your work. So it all just added up.
Yeah, and I think even the actual process of us getting from the game to the comic was quite actually a long process, because I think it was about 6 months of us just going back and forth about using the IP in the game. Yes. Well, had nothing to do with a comic at all, and it was only when we were like, oh, how are we going to kind of launch the IP in the game, when we got to that part, that I was like, hey, well, have you ever thought about doing a comic crossover? We'd not had a conversation or anything prior to that, and it was funny. We'd done more artwork for the comic book. I still hadn't even gotten Elphie the artwork for the game, and we signed a contract, and we're going on that. And I'd gone and ran and done some of the comic artwork before that. So, but it's all done now, and we'll be able to showcase that next week. So
another question for you, Elphie. And again, like I'm an absolute noob. I'm waiting for the Kickstarter to start so I can get my copy of the game and dive into it. So I'll preface by saying I actually don't have any experience right now. But in terms of all these games, in terms of say, and I'll use the granddaddy of it all, the Magic the Gathering. When Magic the Gathering first came out, there was basically no lore behind it. It was basically the inventor, Richard Garfield. He just threw a bunch of cards together, and he was basically building the system, which is fine. But now, if you look at the way Magic is now, man, there is so much lore involved. The planeswalkers, how they all link up. This person met this person, and that's how he created this universe and all the rest of it. And if you look at the lore behind Hearthstone, which is basically from World of Warcraft, man, you know why this character hates this character. And although the cards, you can make the cards do anything, there's a whole history behind why certain cards work their way to do. Is there that storytelling behind your game right now, or is there a direction you're going to do? Because like, for example, look at Magic. It spawned countless novels, there's countless comics, and it's got nothing to do with the card game. It's just the lore that came out of it.
Yeah. So there was a few things that obviously we have inspirations, different games. Actually, one was called Hero Escape, which is this cool little minifigures thing where you could have all these people crossing over from different times and places. So that was a very cool inspiration for some of the story of it. But yeah, it has evolved. We had people in the first place, myself included, who helped form the story, and often it just became what would be really, really cool to see in the game, and then being able to put it into the story. And that was part of the joy of having this whole multiverse concept, is we could do anything, and we grounded it in some semblance of, okay, let's have it attached to the one world. So the old world is the same as, Reach and Talik. They're just called different names on different versions of this one planet. So we haven't gone too wild to try and actually ground it and connect it, and then be able to link all these different disparate worlds through these portals, and then have a common enemy, which I came up with a long time ago, which was like, what if we had cyborg zombies, right? That were made out of this nanobot virus that went wild, and so that ended up becoming the main arc for the first 3 sets of the game that came out. It just came from one cool idea for a race, and then they caught on. They became one of, if not the best and fan favorite faction. I shouldn't say that in case it's people watching. They're like, no, my faction's the best. But the point was that the story evolved and changed over time. But it didn't change. That's one thing, by the way. In my lexicon, like, retcon is a dirty 6-letter word, right? We don't retcon, but there's always, especially because we're in a multiverse, there's always a way we can bring in, even if someone dies, we can bring them in from another universe. Now, of course, we don't want to lean too much on that sort of tool, because people sort of start to expect it. But we are able to create a story that unfolds, and even the game itself, Infinity Heroes, gave rise to some of the story in how it happened, because before there were all these factions and this big war that broke out, among these different factions on these different worlds, and that's what the Infinity Wars were about. And then when we were going into Infinity Heroes, the whole idea was that we were having these characters, these heroes that would have people from all different factions, and they wouldn't have their faction borders anymore. As you'll see in the game if we preview it, there's like the Infinity Wars Classic has these faction borders behind each of these different people, and they all had different color sets and what have you. And then they're like, and when I was thinking, how do I now make it so that it makes sense that we're going into this Infinity Heroes? And that's what gave rise to the idea of, well, there's been this massive war. There's been a genocide on a whole planet. There's beautiful stuff. I should link you guys to the lore story, actually, that we have, that sort of catches you up on what happened in Infinity Wars. But the factions were clearly in some kind of semblance of disarray. So I lent into that, and I was like, okay, well, what if all the factions have started breaking apart, and if we had some portals opening up between the factions and having people basically become refugees from these wars, bouncing off into these other portals, and sort of starting to create this multicultural mix, and then people would then start to follow the strongest leaders rather than the people from their faction that they would normally follow in the past. And that's what gave rise to the Infinity Heroes arc that we're in right now, where it's all, everything's just blown apart, and people are starting to come back together under the strongest leaders, and people who they feel resonant with, which then leads into Infinity Wars 2, which is, again, how do we evolve this story based on some of the mechanics, or can we evolve the story based on some of the mechanics that are coming into the next game? And so the next game is currently, it's still in early prototype, but currently we're exploring with the idea of having alignment instead of factions, which then deals with a problem we had in the past with the factions. We couldn't introduce more cool factions because you'd run out of colors, right? We had 9 factions in the end, and if we had more than that, it became ridiculous. So how do we then split it up into these factions, which is order, neutral, chaos, and loving, indifferent, and hateful on the other axis. So then you end up with these 9 different affiliate. Oh, sorry. So what I'm looking for. I just said it before. Alignments. Yep. Thank you. Alignments. So yeah, and then that means that, you know, in this case now it's sort of evolved a little bit more, and people are starting to still form back into their groups in a way, but they're kind of forever changed now because they're falling behind and carrying, you know, these sort of values effectively that they end up more naturally, organically going towards after this chaos that's happened through the Infinity Heroes saga. It's a long answer, but I hope it was a good lore style answer to your question.
I love it because and the way you answer actually makes me very happy because I think you could have a very good mechanic, but what draws people in? I'll use the example, you know, Overwatch. You know, you hear a lot of people actually when I used to watch a lot of Overwatch videos. I'm rubbish at it, just putting it out there, but I love to watch people play Overwatch, you know, when they go through the game. And it's actually really interesting because a lot of people will say, I always play this one character because they're cool, not because, you know, I don't know if you know, Overwatch has nerfs and stuff. So a character can become really powerful or, you know, really weak, but they'll keep playing a particular character because of the lore behind that character. Like everybody loves Tracer because she's just fun, she's vibrant, but she's not the most powerful of all the characters. But you still think that you have that whole fan base. And I think by not just making a game, by making the story behind it, why they do certain things, it's got nothing to do with the game. But guess what? It drags the attention in.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's actually what we lent into as well with Infinity Heroes was, look, you know, there's these characters that are really strong characters, but the people, the players, especially the casual players, aren't really too familiar with these characters. They're more connected with the cards and probably the factions. And so another thing that we got to do through doing Infinity Heroes was to allow people to now start to connect more with the heroes themselves. And so we put a focus on those heroes. And so building off that as well, we're actually in the lore phase. We've got this big blueprint for what we're doing with all the Infinity franchise. But when we go to the lore phase, we're going to be actually adding in card backs onto every single card. And allowing people to see a deeper dive into the lore, like basically like a full card worth at least worth of lore on every single card. And that'll also be something that we can even crowdsource a little bit as well from the people who are really like lore fanatics. We get some people who are really, really attached to the lore of Infinity Wars. So yeah, it's great. Yeah,
that's really cool because then it is like an actual card in regards to you can click on it, you bring up the image, and we'll have a look at your website in a sec that I've pulled up before. But you can pull up the image, which is awesome because it's always an animated image. The actual card in the game is actually an animated image, which is cool in itself. But if you were able to tap on it again to flip it, to then actually read that lore part. Like, I'm the super geek, you know, again, I'll throw in my Star Wars reference. I love the expanded universe. I've got all the comics and the books and all that type of stuff. So for me, that's the little things or the extra things that you put into something that really sucks me and draws me into the universe. And then when it gets to this point where you go out and you do a comic or you do an actual prose novel or, you know, a full length series novels or something like that, that this is the hook that gets me in type of thing to buy it and continue playing the game also. So
that's great. Speaking of playing the game, did you guys want to have a look at it? Or
yes.
Oh yeah, well, great segue.
One last question before you start, though. And again,
I'll just boot it up in the background. But yeah,
like I said, I have no idea how is the overall game mechanic like? Is it like a Hearthstone where you have to collect cards to build a deck, or do you have access to all the cards and you do it that way? How is that aspect of the game? Is it like a Hearthstone, or is it like a standard game where you just have everything and or you level up to certain cards? How does that work?
It depends on which of the 3 games that we're building in the end you're in, actually. So in Infinity Heroes, which is the one we're going to take a look at today, that is that's built on it's a collectible hero game. So it's designed to be really accessible. Anyone can pick it up and play it. and you literally unlock a hero, and then you get all of their cards that come with it, and then you select 3 heroes to go out into battle. And then every turn, you're choosing which of those heroes is going to be at the front line, and you're drawing the cards from. You have access to their hero power, their ultimates as well. So if you know League of Legends or Dota, it's like a combination of that and Hearthstone, if I was to pick 2 sort of games. But there's no collectible, there's no trading card aspect to Infinity Heroes, whereas Infinity Wars Classic, which is built off the same sort of mandate as our previous game, Infinity Wars 1, that is like what we've done with Classic is we're giving people access to every single card, full playsets of every single card, so that people don't have to go and be beaten by somebody who's got all of X card, right? So these are all the old cards from Infinity Wars 1. So there's over 800 cards they're actually bringing into Infinity Wars Classic and letting people get full access to all the cards for bugger all, for like $5 a month. You can actually get access to that. So that's Infinity Wars Classic. And then in Infinity Wars 2, we're going to go back to that sort of classical open up packets and buy cards, trade cards, all that kind of thing. So.
Oh, cool.
And then ironically, they're all actually connected. All 3 cards engines are collected. So if you unlock a hero, you end up getting the cards in Infinity Wars 2. If you open a packet of cards in Infinity Wars 2, you get the Infinity Wars Classic version of that as well.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I think you're going to take a lot of my free time away from me. Damn you.
Well, let's start with some of it now, man. Would you like me to share screen? Or
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Alrighty, and let me know if the sound. Share screen. I'm going to share audio.
That's it. I always forget that button.
Tricky one. Can you guys see that now?
Yep.
Looking good.
Great. All right. So this is some crazy music in the background. These are a psycho demon faction. Yeah. So this is Infinity Heroes. In fact, I'll take us right here, and you can see XCT Infinity.
That's cool. Oh,
yeah.
Look, I have to admit, Sean actually showed me the short video for that. I love it. I love it when they take an image, and they do a lot. Actually, it started to do a lot. All those motion capture comics. I think Sean, you've seen a couple.
Yeah.
Where basically they'll take an existing comic, and they'll motion capture it, and they'll do all these little effects. I love it. So I'm
I was super excited when I got it. I was like, "Oh my god, look, it moves!"
Right. So what I was going to show you guys today actually is called Adventure Mode, and so that's where you get to basically create your own hero from any of the souls, so the decks of the original Infinity Heroes, and you can see all the decks on the left-hand side there of these guys. So we've got like the dark magic matriarchal society of these evil wizard females. We've got I can't show you Spartacus. We're going to leave that reveal for later on. But there's the crazy demons there. Some beasts. You can see my little drop bear character is literally a koala, right? And then he morphs into this crazy evil version of him. I don't believe that part's in there at the moment, but you can see there's all these different heroes, and then we can go to power. So basically every hero has their own hero power, which is like an ability you can use every single turn of the game, and you can grab the hero power from another hero, and then you can get the body from either from another hero or any image you have on your hard drive. So if I go here and go into here, and I want to use this guy, we'll see if it loads up. There you go. I've got this Diesel Punk hero that's actually an unreleased hero who I'm using as the hero image there. And then we can call him whatever we want to call him. You guys got a name?
Steven.
Oh, you put me in a spot. Call him Spot. Spot the dog.
Spot.
Spot the dog.
I'm sorry.
Spot or Spot the dog?
Oh, which Spot the dog?
Spot the dog. I love it.
Is it fit? Yay!
We'll get the power of Patient Zero, who was the first cyborg zombie. So his power is to create a cyborg zombie on the battlefield for the cost of 1. We'll just go into play. And because you can't trade cards or even set up decks normally in Infinity Heroes, but for our single player mode, we've actually got this special like roguelike experience where you've got, I've got endgame gauntlets. There was actually a person who's in the comments who said, "Is there are we going to do? What did he say?
Will there be
Infinity Stones? Will there be Infinity Stones? No, but there are some endgame gauntlets in here. So you start the turn with 3 resources on the first turn only. And we have 2 of these Genesis soldiers, 2 of these flying drones, a nice firebolt spell, and some tribal medicine, giving a unit +0/+2. And then we chose Iberion, which is he's a sort of fast hitting guy, and all about like these kind of almost like Warhammer 40k Space Marine style guys, but more fantasy based. They don't have guns in this, but they have got technology. Or they do have guns, I should say, but they're not like 7 foot tall. They're more like classic style there. But you can see every single card has been beautifully animated there, and this guy is riding on a motorcycle, a knight, paladin. Flame Dawn Paladin. And so we pick one of these 3 pools for our hero choice. And so I might go the Bloodbath looks cool. Plus, Flame Dawn Aspirant's a really good choice because it's a fast-hitting character. And then we go into a battle. And in adventure mode, you don't have 3 heroes. You just pick the 1 hero and you build this hero up. And that's why it's a good place to start and a good place to learn, and why we've made it our single-player game. And because we've started actually with 3 resources, I can bring out this for a cost of 3 on turn 1. And it's an adventure, so you're going through these 10 levels, and this guy's quite easy. He's only got a 10 health. I've got 40 health, right? I've got a rune, which is the relic, which is the endgame gauntlets. He has no relic. And then eventually it goes up to, the point where you've got another opponent with like 5 runes, and he's got like 40 life. And meanwhile, you've kept your life from every round going through, so you might have like 10 life by the time you get to the last round. You got to try and beat this guy with 40, so it becomes quite hard in the end. But this is good. So one of the tenets of Infinity Wars, which makes Infinity Heroes, all the Infinity games in the Infinity engine that we have, is that there's simultaneous turns. So both players are taking their turn at the same time, and so we both plan out our turn and choose which cards we're going to bring out, and then there's a resolution phase where all the actions happen. So what that stops is the whole thing in Magic the Gathering of going back and forth with somebody and seeing if they want to interrupt my spell. Everyone does all their planning at the same time, and this also stops us from having to wait from the other player taking their whole turn. So they're taking their turn at the same time as us, and then when we've both pressed end turn, that's when the turn resolves. So on the same turn that I brought out this guy, he only had one energy. As you can see up here, he's got 2 this turn, and he brought out an Endless Horde. So he brought out 1 attack, 2 life, and then he's got the special bonus which says if I pay 2 extra when I bring him out, give him deadly, which means that if he hurts somebody, he kills them instantly, which kind of makes sense if the zombies are biting, right? So he's also got aggressive, which means that he can't block or be placed in the defense zone. So I know he's not going to be blocking, but I also don't want to be losing too much life. So I'm going to put myself into the defense zone. So here's the zone. So on the left-hand side, you'll see is my side of the screen. On the right is the opponent. These 3 lanes, you'll notice here, the top lane is the attack lane. You can see by the arrows, it's going that way. And then this side is his defense lane. Over in the middle, we have our support zone and his support zone, which is like a safe area and where the characters go out in the first turn that they get played. And then we've got my defense zone down here, and then his attack zone. And you'll notice that it's actually weighted. You can put 3 cards in the attack and 2 in the defense. So it's quite an aggressive game. Infinity Wars is a very similar game in its play style. It has the same simultaneous turns and what have you. But in that, you've got unlimited zones. You've actually got the ability to put a lot of cards out. That's why it's more about a war rather than about the heroes battling. So in this case, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring that there. And actually what I'll do is I'll undo. This is one of the cool things. It's one of those things when you start playing Infinity Wars and Infinity Heroes, it's pretty hard to go back from the fact that you can undo your turn. So in Hearthstone, it happens to me all the time. I'll make a stupid mistake. It's my fault, but I'll make a stupid mistake and be like, play something out and I can't take it back. Whereas in this case, I'm going to change my mind. And I'm going to put out this Flame Dawn Aspirant, which is a 1/1 with charge, and charge means can only be played directly into the attack zone. So instead of going out into here and waiting for a turn, he goes straight into the attack. But let's see, I want to undo that actually. I'll bring out this guy straight out into the attack zone, and then I'll use his ability to create a 1/2 Endless Horde with aggressive. So he'll attack as well next turn. So let's see. I will press end turn now, and he will obviously go into the attack zone because that's all he can do. My ability goes off, and bang. So what happened there is I took 1 damage down to 1 life, and he took 2 damage, which killed him off, and that's why he's dead and gone. And then he brought out a second one of these this next turn in the planning phase, while I brought out one of these from my ability to keep bringing it. I can do that every single turn. So I can bring out another one, just keep bringing the zombies. And now that he's attacked, I can actually put this guy into the defense zone because he came out into the attack zone, but he can actually still defend. He doesn't have aggressive. Whereas this guy has to. He's got aggressive. He has to go into the attack zone. And so what I'll do is I'll use this cool little bloodbath, which means it gives a unit, if it's damaged, kill it this turn. So I will give it to him. And even if this guy buffs him to like 6, as long as this guy does 1 damage to him, it'll kill him. It basically gives every other attacking unit deadly against it. I've got 1 more energy left. I'm going to play out this into there. Cool thing about Infinity Heroes is you have a 4-card hand that always replenishes to the max each time. And we've designed this for Infinity Heroes because Infinity Heroes is actually cross-platform. So we could be playing against a person who's on the other side of the world on their mobile phone, and we'll be on PC, they'll be on mobile, full cross-platform support.
I love that. Cool. I absolutely love that. Because the way that it looks set up, you should have it so that iOS, Android shouldn't matter. Oh, look, I do realize just in terms of timing, we probably got about 10 minutes left. And I know Sean definitely wants the chance to talk about the actual.
Yes, let's talk about the actual comic book.
Let's do that. Let's segue back. Sean,
yes, thank you.
I'm going to share the link into the YouTube comments right now and if you guys haven't done it already, click the link that I'm going to share right now and click the notify button. The more people who notify, you'll get told as soon as it launches. So and I know Sean has a couple of early bird rewards as well. So you don't want to miss out. You want to be the first to snap those ones up. But Sean?
Yeah, my StreamYard has just totally gone haywire. So can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, and I believe we're still live. So
yeah, it is. I'm a little bit scared to touch anything because it is absolutely just crashed, and I'm a little bit scared.
So what's actually crashed?
Cancel.
So maybe don't touch anything. I can stream again if it lets us do that. I can share the site.
What I'm going to do is I'll put the link up into the. If you can see the link, if you can bring that one up.
Yep.
So this link has been shared to the chat already.
Yes.
We've taken over Sean. You can't do anything.
We have. Sean isn't moving right now, so I was like, is he holding very still?
I'm back.
He's back. You're cloning yourself, mate. You've got yourself cloned.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. I was like
two of you.
What else going on here? So, I just went to add a tab and just did not like it at all. But there we go. I'm back. Jeez, Stephen, I was giving you a hard time, mate, about your internet. And I've blown almost everything up. So I'm hoping everyone is still in the chat and everyone's still here. So I do apologize about that. But as Stephen said, he's put the link in the chat we are going live with our Kickstarter launch at 7 p.m. next Friday night. We're going to go live on to Facebook. We're going to go live on to the XCT Facebook page, as well as the Comics to Movies, as well as the YouTube channel. So you can see myself, Elphie. We're trying to see whether we can get Jason, who's Elphie's lore guy, and Ben also to come in at some stage throughout the hour or so. So we will launch the Kickstarter. We will be showcasing Spartacus in the game, like Elphie was just doing. Then we'll be able to showcase some of the different cards and everything that are being created, as well as we'll talk a little bit more about the comic and all the different rewards that we'll have for that as well. So that's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Australia. So whatever that works out to be everywhere else in the world. But what we'll do is we will put up a notification on our Facebook and YouTube page so that you guys can get notified. So if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to our channel and click that bell to be notified when we go live. Now, currently we've got 84 followers. We're trying to get that up to over 100 by launch day. So if you haven't clicked notify yet, please do that. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about, Elphie, before we head off into the night? So
yeah, the first and foremost is really appreciate everyone's support on this one, and sharing if you could onto your timeline, maybe tagging people who might be interested in this, because it is hard in this day and age to get something this amazing out there to the world. We are having some actual media come back, which has been really awesome to get some coverage of the book and the project. But yeah, it's a bit saturated, and people, use lots of money to get in front of people's eyes nowadays. So if you guys love the idea of this crossover and the idea of Spartacus going into unknown lands, then we would really appreciate your support in sharing and tagging some people that might really appreciate jumping onto this. And of course, notifying yourself as well, putting yourself down to notify so that you know when it comes out, so you can be one of the first people to get the early bird rewards that are going to be available as well on the Kickstarter. Save a few dollars there and get in before everyone else.
I've actually been given a sneak peek of the first couple of pages, and I have to say the artwork is amazing. It is, and I'll probably shout out to the colorist, because I don't know who the colorist is off the top of my head, but the coloring for the first couple of pages which I've seen, wow, it's absolutely amazing. So I know you're using the same artist as the one that you used for XCT, but he stepped up. Like how good his work was before, it's better in this one, I find.
Yeah, because we do the graphic novels with XCD so long in advance prior to when they come out, is really like 6 to almost 12 months. Now, when he's drawing all the time, you can really tell the difference in how good he's gotten. So the artist is Alexander Malyshev. So he's a Russian artist. So he's done a great job. The image that's up there, that's colored by Kevin DeCasto, who's an Asian colorist. And then our normal color or internal colorist is Wilson Go. So he has done the normal XCT series, but he's taken another step as well. And I think that's what I really enjoy about working with all these different people, and that is that the more you work with them, the better they get and the better quality we can put out. And Elphie was very adamant that if we're going to put something out, that we wanted it to be of a high quality, that it was not only a good story, but it was good good artwork, visually appealing, and good quality. And Stephen, you're a paper snob, so we want to make sure that when you get it and you touch it and you feel it and everything, that you feel like you're getting exactly what you paid for.
Definitely. Any last questions you want to pull out from the chat before we start closing this one off, Sean?
Yep. So they've got one here from Nerds Amalgamated. Will there be crossover arcs that are like what happened to Marvel Contest of Champions? I didn't. It's been quite a while since I've read Contest of Champions, so I'm not 100% sure. It's probably going to be more like the DC versus Marvel issue. So there'll be a little bit of fighting between the heroes. There'll be a larger story arc and a main enemy or something that they need to do at the end. But the other thing that is quite interesting about the series is that it's going to have fan interaction. So at the end of each of the individual issues, there is 2 directions or more that the story will go in, and it will rely on the audience to give us that direction, which is kind of cool. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of the first times that we've seen that happen in a comic book, and one of the first times in an Australian comic book that we're aware of it's ever happened. So yeah, we did draw a bit of reference from the Amalgam Comics, which was the Marvel DC comic crossover a while back. And yeah, the idea of having choice and having it's a lot easier for us to get that reader choice in as well, so people will be able to have the ability to influence the choices of where we're going with the comic. And that's one of the cool things we can do. We can still tell an overarching story and have them pop up at different places, but then have some very key moments be impacted by the reader. So it's very exciting. Yeah.
You never know. There might be Algam version 2. Agent Cole and Spartacus.
We can have them do a fusion dance. Why not? Crazy things have happened. So yeah. But thanks a lot for having me on the cast, and thanks to everyone who's come on and joined us and thrown all your comments and feedback in there. And yeah, love hearing from you guys and meeting you guys. So thanks for hosting such a great podcast today, Stephen, as well for joining us.
No props, and thanks, Sean, always for giving us the platform. Really appreciate it.
No problem. And remember that Transhuman is live on Kickstarter, which is Stephen's graphic novel. It is almost at funded. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you check that out as well. Stephen, if you've got that handy, chuck that in the links as well.
Thank you so much for the shout out.
No problem. I was a 150th backer. Boom. So, but no, thank you again, everyone that comes along to the show. We really appreciate your time. Elphie, thank you very much for your time tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday for the big launch, and talking a bit more games, a bit more crossover, and seeing if we can organise getting this comic across the line as well. So, good night, everyone. Stay safe, and yeah.
Take care. Cheers.
Okay, bye.